Welcome to the Rise Above Show with Patricia Jo Grover, where we rise above our challenges and turn believers into achievers. Today on the show, I have my guest, Vickie Griffith. And let me tell you a little bit about Vickie. From ho-hum unhappy, fat existence, and as a teenager, Vickie is now 70 pounds lighter and kept the pounds off without dieting. She will teach you how to crush cravings, manage anxiety, stop self-sabotage, and how she kept calm even through the chaos. She's the author of 2 books, a professional speaker, and a licensed minister. Vickie Griffith is also known for her infectious enthusiasm and deceptively low-key, casual approach of speaking and offering keynotes, coaching, and workshops. So I'm so happy to have you with us, Vickie.
Thank you. Thank you for the invitation. I'm so excited to be here today.
So I have a new segment that I've added to my show, and it's This Grammy Doesn't Knit, She Cliches. Simply because as I work with clients, it's really important to have a better understanding of how the human mind works. And this really helps me to dig deeper with that. So do you have words of wisdom or phrases that were shared with you when you were a child? So I want to know if you have one to share with us. And then we want to know did you understand it completely when you were a child? And we'll go from there.
Well, what I always heard was clean your plate because there's someone in fill in the country blank for your time that you grew up. So mine was China is starving. And I never really understood the connection. How was my cleaning my plate going to help a child in China? But what it also, as I'm looking back at it as an adult, what it also made me feel like there was something wrong with me, that if I didn't clean my plate, I wasn't enough, not to listen to my body signals instead of what was on my, I had to fill what's on my plate. I got where grandma was coming from. She was a product of the Depression. And you made sure, there was not enough food. So you ate everything that you were given. So I get that, again, as an adult, but as a child, the connection wasn't there. And it just made me feel like I wasn't doing something right, or I should be doing something more. And for other people in China that I didn't know. So it was a very interesting aha later on as I noticed I kept cleaning my plate and feeling overstuffed, what was going on with me.
Right. And I heard the same story, Vickie, and that's what I heard, because coming from a family that had been through the Depression era and the importance, you never knew when your next meal was coming and how it was going to get to us. So I was raised that same way, and that's been a battle for me my whole life. I've always had a battle with my weight. And it does have to do with, again, that's where as children, that's where our belief windows are formed. And that's, the key importance of why I talk about this is because I want people to realize the words that we use with others, especially children, can be very, they affect them in a good or bad way. And we might not even realize that. And the words that we use with ourselves, even if we don't voice them, make a huge impact on how we are able to move forward in a positive direction. So thank you for sharing this with me. But I see now, let's go on, because obviously now that you have a better understanding of that and you've done the breaking down and unpacking that, that baggage, right? You've utilized that to do what you do today and understand your purpose more, right?
I have, a lot of coaches, we come to what our message is through our mess. And that's certainly for me as well. I struggled with dieting for 25, 30 years. And I was on every diet. I grew up fat. I actually was a chubby little baby and then a chubby toddler. And then about 3, it doesn't get so cute anymore that you're chubby. And so I grew up as a chubby kid. I I was in the Huskies, boys Huskies. That's what I wore when I was in elementary school. You too.
Me too. Me too.
It was so embarrassing to go into the department stores for school and have to go to the boys department and get Huskies just so they'd fit my body. I can remember that like it was yesterday. The shame, the embarrassment, the guilt that I felt, and the whole idea of there was something wrong with me and what was wrong with me, and that I was disappointing my parents and somehow, and all of that led to thinking everything in my life, my parents arguing, was my fault because I was fat. All of the problems and situations that our family had happened because I was fat. And like you said, I was young. And when we're young, we make those conclusions because our brain isn't fully wired yet. And so I ran around my young adult life even thinking there's something really wrong with me, especially when the diets wouldn't work.
Right.
And I was still fat, or I would lose 10, 15 pounds and gain it right back. Mm-hmm. There's something really wrong with me. And that's when I started looking at, there's got to be a different way, but that didn't happen until I was in my 30s.
Right, right. So that's really why I dig deep and want our guests to share these things, because again, this is just bringing it to the surface and making it aware and getting it out there. So thank you for participating with me, because I have more questions, because I want to get your message out there. So let's move on to some other questions I have for you.
Sure.
So let me go on, Vickie, and say, now I want to know what led you to starting your business.
I wish for me it was over a period of years that I was on and off diets, as I said, and I've been on every major diet. I have all the major big box diets. I've done them all, and the stupid, silly ones, the cottage cheese and ketchup. You're shaking your head. Yes, those silly diets, the cabbage soup diet, the master cleanse. They all work. It's just they're all a little weird and crazy what we put ourselves through. And so I've been there and done that. And I didn't want people, especially women, to suffer anymore. And one day I stepped on my bathroom scale and I looked at the number on the scale. And it was one of those, oh, geez, really? This is the heaviest I've ever been. And I was on a diet, yet it was the heaviest I've ever been. And I felt such a sense of failure. Like, how could I have failed at this one more time? But there was also a sense of resiliency. There was a sense of, okay, I'm going to figure this out, and I'm going to do something different and counterintuitive to all the diets that I've ever been on. And I'm not giving up my favorite food. And I ate fast food every day at this time in my life. And it nurtured me in some way. I didn't want to give that up. And I just decided, okay, I'm going to eat whatever I want. I'm going to pay attention to when I'm physically hungry. And I hadn't felt that in a long time. I was actually afraid to feel physically hungry. I thought it might hurt too much. I'm going to pay attention to my body when my body tells me I've had enough. And remember that the Clean Plate Club. So I still had that going on too. And I did a couple other things that helped change the outcome. And one of those was I knew I had to stop judging and criticizing myself. The barrage and bereavement of feeling badly about myself, about every little thing, I had to stop that. So I started a mental diet, and I would say no to all of those thoughts. I also stopped weighing myself every day because that was causing the judgment and the criticism. So I'd get on the scale and go, oh, look, I've lost a couple of pounds. Yay, donuts. And then I'd get on it and gained a couple of pounds. Okay, donuts. My life revolved around what that scale said. So I had to stop doing that. I created a self-hypnosis recording. And that recording enforced the idea of what's hunger feel like and what does satisfied feel like. So it was a learning curve. And I cut my portions back. So I still went to my fast food every day, but I got like a kid's meal or a junior cheeseburger deluxe. And the self-hypnosis recording that I created, it it started doing some really interesting things so subtly that I didn't even realize I was changing. I'll never forget. I seriously will never forget the day I walked into Wendy's intending to order my junior cheeseburger deluxe and a small fry and a Diet Coke. That's what I was eating. And got to the register. She asked me what she could get for me. And I said, I'll have a grilled chicken salad. And I literally looked behind me. I thought somebody behind me had just ordered. That's not what I intended to order. But yet something inside of me, through that self-hypnosis and my body saying, that's what I really want. And for the first time ever, I actually enjoyed a salad. And I've had many salads before, but I never enjoyed them because they were on the diet. I had to eat it. I should eat it. But this one, I ate it because I wanted it. And that moment, when I realized that this was working, was so powerful for me. It was so powerful to know, and it wasn't hard. And I'm like, I need to share this with other women. This doesn't have to be as hard as we've made it. And how, you talk about our minds and our perceptions, how they make us believe it's our fault. And that guilt and shame, I needed to think about that because it's a horrible place to live in. Constantly thinking about what you need to eat, what you should eat, why you can't eat it, and then the cravings on top of it. So that's what came to what I'm doing. And I am so grateful to be able to help women change that about themselves and release the weight to their surprise many times so easily.
Wonderful, wonderful. What a beautiful story, and thank you for sharing it because it helps us connect those things. So we actually have to take a quick break for a message from our sponsor, 133 Approved Funding, and we'll be right back. And we're back. If you're just joining us, I'm here with Vickie Griffith, and we're talking about health and your life and how you can take that back, right? Oh my goodness, we had right before our break, we had a wonderful conversation going, and we're going to go right back to it. We have questions for Vickie, and really, what better time to start thinking about the things that she's sharing with us. So let me ask you, Vickie, what is your client's biggest challenge? What would you say your client's biggest challenge is?
The biggest challenge is they've been on so many programs and felt that they failed, that they're afraid to try one more time. They're so sure they're going to fail again, no matter what the method is, that they've given up on themselves. And that's hard to watch. That's hard to see.
That is true. And so do you have what are your recommendations for that? What would you say? What would you tell people to give them just that little extra nudge to help them, encourage them to keep going?
I can completely understand that. Like I said, I've tried them all and did them all. But the approach that works and works so that it will create ease in your life is about what we talked about at the very beginning. What are these patterns from childhood that's been created? And that's something that normally isn't talked about. It's something that's normally not addressed. They're very easy to give you a food program, a diet to follow, and tell you how much movement you need, but they rarely are looking at the experiences that you've had that's created the way that you're eating right now. So I had a client that came to me because she was eating 2 loaves of homemade bread every Sunday because a friend of hers was making bread for her. She overheard one day that she loved homemade bread with, especially warm with butter. And so this friend, out of love, was giving her a loaf of bread. And she's like, Vickie, I put that loaf of bread in my car in the front seat and I had it eaten before I got home. She goes, so then I would put it in the back seat, but then I would stop on the way back from church. I would stop somewhere and take the bread out and put it in the front seat and eat it before I got home. She goes, I even tried putting it in the trunk of my car, but yet I would still stop and eat it. And then when my friend found out I was eating the loaf, she gave me 2. So one would get home to my husband, but yet I would eat both of them on the way home. She was a short-statured woman. And so you can just imagine how those extra calories were showing up on her body.
Right.
So,
And the story, right. That story, I'm sure there's thousands and millions of other stories just like that. And I totally agree, Vickie, because the clients I work with, because as a goal achievement strategist, I help people get from where they're currently finding themselves to where they want to be, and personally or professionally. So a lot of what you and I do are similar because it does all go back to our belief windows and where those were formed as a child, because we got to go back to where that baggage is coming from. We need to name it and claim it and unpack that baggage. And that is just exactly what we were just talking about. So,
exactly.
yeah. So
what happened with her was that we uncovered really why this was happening. Her husband was ill and declining. And so she was responsible for not only his care, but she loved to work and she had a full-time job. And she's afraid she's had to give that up. What the bread was representing was when she came home from school every day, as a child, her mom had fresh baked bread for her and butter at the kitchen table. That feeling of love and being loved in simple life, and that feeling of it's warm. She wasn't getting any of that in her life now because of what was happening with her husband. So that was something that we disconnected, and she was able to stop eating the bread on the way home.
right,
But you're right. It was a pattern from the past.
exactly. And when we explain it out like that, it seems so simple, but for the individual, it is not that simple. There's so much more that piled on that goes with it. So,
Right.
right. So let me ask you now, what is a common myth about the weight loss industry that you can debunk for everyone?
It's all about the food plan. So although the industry will give you a food plan, so it's all about external fixes, a food plan, an exercise plan. It's really about what's going on internally. Just what you're talking about, what you and I do, it's about what's going on up here and in your heart that needs to be worked on while you're addressing what types of foods you're eating, what's going to help you release weight, because it's different for everyone. Some people can eat cheeseburgers every day. Others, like myself, that isn't something that would be, cheeseburgers and fries is not something I could do every day. Maybe once a month, maybe twice a month. So it's determining what works for you and what makes you feel good while we're looking at all what's going on, like you said, in the mindset and in your heart.
Yes, and the thing is, like you said, everybody's different. There's different metabolisms, there's different and hereditary, genetics on how people process. More people, you hear about lactose intolerance, gluten, intolerance, and all these things. But now all the chemicals that are added and additives that are added to the foods, people can have reactions to those that you never thought of either. So, oh, there are so many different pieces that go to that puzzle. So
Right.
yeah. So Vickie, what do you wish you would have known along your own journey?
I wish that I would have known that the diet's not the answer. And I wish that I had found somebody that could have, and I did when I was 16, fortunately. However, it took 10, 15 years longer. Maybe I'm a slow study, I'm not quite sure, but of playing around with self hypnosis, because that's what I went to a hypnotist to lose weight. It was one more attempt for my parents to help me lose weight. And the hypnosis fascinated me. So I wish I would have known that our capabilities that we have to change our outcomes, and that we have the power within ourselves. And like you said, sometimes it takes someone else to show us and to believe it for us. I'm sure you do that for your clients. You believe it for them until they can believe it. And I wish I would have come across that information much earlier in my days of being fatness, and that it wasn't my fault. I wish I would have known that too.
Right.
I always thought it was my fault, and I've been drinking diet soda since I was like 6.
Right. And really, what is diet soda? What, we're
Yeah.
that's not the answer, right? But we think it
Mm-mm.
is because that's the label that, I don't know if it's the Food and Drug Administration or whatever has allowed for that to be on there. So people think that that's the answer. If I just have this, then I'll be all set, right? We know that's so
Yeah.
far from true. Oh my
They,
goodness.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's a journey, and every single one of us is on a journey. And with all and with my guests on my show, I ask that they maybe share a struggle they've had in their personal or professional lives and how they've made it through, and or products or services they have that they can offer to help somebody along that journey. Because
Mhm.
it is, we have all 8 dimensions of our lives that we are navigating at all times. And sometimes, something, if something is bad, something bad going on with your health, it can affect you, not just your physical health, but it affects your mental health. It can affect, if you get sick and be down and out, it can affect your financial health, all of these things, and your relationships and everything.
Mhm.
And the same thing with financial. If you're having financial issues, it can affect all, your health and your relationships and everything. So that's why I have guests like you come on my show, Vickie. It is to get the message out there and have people understand you're not in this alone. You are not in this alone. So the show is Rise Above with Patricia Joe Grover, because we rise above our challenges, and everybody has them. If people say
Mhm.
they don't, they're full of it, because in one dimension of life or another, we all have challenges. It's how we learn to deal with those. So rise above the challenges and turn believers into achievers. I want people to believe you're worthy, believe that you are worthy, believe that you are capable, and know that you're not in this alone. And that's why the show, and that's where my summits evolved from, and having people come on and speakers talk in all 8 dimensions of life, because again, everybody is dealing with all of these, and with what we've had going on in the world with the global pandemic, which we thought was only going to be 2 weeks. Now we're in it 2 years, and don't need, and it doesn't look like it's going to end anytime soon, with all that we have to deal with from outside negative forces. And that affects us everybody on that level too. Everybody says, jokingly here and there, oh well, I put on a few COVID pounds, or whatever, you know what I mean, and all these things. But there's more to it than that, and people have to realize, there's so much more connected to it. So I'm so happy to have you on with me sharing about this. is, make your meal plans ahead of time if you're buying those box meals and stuff like we've talked about. But there's all those things. It's how much water you drink, it's all these things. It's when you're going to choose to do movement and exercise, but it's a combination of everything, and you've got to fit that into your life, in your calendar, to make it happen. It's all those moving parts. So, I'm so glad again to have you on and sharing about this and having this come out. And around the holidays, it's difficult for people because there's social eating that comes into play too. Oh my goodness. So, we have had your website down here below the whole time that we've been talking. But tell everybody where they can find out more about you, Vickie. And then if you have any gifts to share with the viewers and listeners.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So you can find out more about me at VickieGriffith.com. So you can certainly go there. However, what I've found more importantly, is about you, and it's about you finding a way to help you crush your cravings. That's what I've discovered over the years of working with clients, is they say, if I could just crush my food craving, and then I'll work on all the other stuff. Or while I'm working on all the other stuff, the internal things. So what I've created is a video download series, and it will show you how to crush cravings in about 30 seconds so that you can get through that moment. And then you can seek someone, your coach, whether they seek you out or me, to help you find out why that craving's coming around. What from the past is causing that craving? What emotion are you going through at that moment? Because many of our food cravings are really emotional cravings. We're craving something else in our life that's missing. And so we can help you navigate your journey into that. But it doesn't help a lot to be standing in front of the Dunkin' Donuts counter and saying, ooh, that pumpkin spice donut looks really, really good, and I know I shouldn't have it, and all the anxiety that creates. So I did create the video download series for you. Once you learn it, you can use it in 30 seconds. It will take care of the craving so you can get back to a neutral place, so you can make better decisions, clearer decisions. And the decision might be to get the pumpkin donut, and that's okay. But then you made a choice, and you can stand behind your choice and enjoy it and taste it and spend some time with it. It almost makes it sound like a lover, but sometimes we really do need to make food a lover and enjoy it for a change instead of just shove it down
and not feel guilty about it, and do it in a healthy way, and not feel guilty about it.
Exactly. So crushcravings.com is where you'll find that video series, and please hop on there and download the series for yourself.
Oh, wonderful. Oh, Vickie, I'm sure our viewers and listeners are going to jump all over this. So thank you so much for that. And thank you for being with us and sharing. For those of you who'd like to find out more about me, you can go to patriciajogrover.com. And if you're in the continental U.S., text the word GOAL, GOAL, to 26786. And if you're outside the continental U.S., text that same word GOAL to 26786. And if you're not a texter, type in https://bit.ly/PJG-gifts, and you'll have stuff come right into your inbox. And that's going to include a free hour consultation with me. So again, thank you for being with us, Vickie, and sharing. And we're going to have a little video on the way out. And I just want to say, until next time, rise above the challenges that life brings your way. Because we know we know those challenges are coming. So be prepared for them. Rise above them and have a great day. Thanks again, Vickie.
Thank you.